like to use this differently. I kind of like to go day by day with my week, but some of the journal users out there, they really like to use the Inside of the Moon journal as a planner and say, I just want to know what to expect next month. It's been so crazy. What's happening? So you could fill out the whole week ahead of time, like at the beginning of the month, you can fill out, and each section has 5 weeks. So if we have a longer week or we kind of start midweek, you should have enough days to fill your week. But I just come, today is July 31st, 2023. I know that we're almost at a full moon. And here's something I want to share with you. This is a fun little tool that I absolutely love. And if you don't know about it yet, it's going to be a game changer for you. So I'm going to just share my screen here. Give me 1 second. Because, when we look at and we say, okay, well, where is, holy cannoli, how many things do I have open? Okay. When we say, where is the moon? Like, is the moon in Aquarius? Is it in Capricorn? Is it in Virgo? How do I know where the moon is? How do I know what phase of the moon it's in? There's a great little cheat sheet that you can go to. A lot of times you could just Google it, like, where's the moon today? What zodiac sign? You can ask your watch, you can Siri, you can ask Google, and you'll find out what zodiac sign is the moon in, and they'll let you know. But I love this tool, so I'll drop it in the chat as well. I'm going to share my screen for a moment. Aha, here we go. So this is Moon Calendar, and I'm going to share this whole link. That way you have access to, hello. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a second and I'll pop it in here. But this is to the month of August, okay? It's set for New York City, and the actual just direct link to it is here. This gives you a layout really quickly of the moon. Holy cannoli. The moon phases. There you go. That's a short link just to get to the main page. And I'll share my screen again. Okay, so what I love about this is you can have the whole month of August laid out in front of you, and then you can transfer that into your planner. And if you're running short on time and you're just like, okay, I just need to know where is the moon today because I'm all wackadoodle upside down, you can come here. I would encourage you, when you come to this is set to UMT time, Universal Time, or GMT. Change it to your local time zone. I just did New York for East Coast. So if you're somewhere else, you can type it your city in here, your time zone, and it'll pop right up. But that'll make it so much easier, because what you'll notice is when a full moon or new moon is happening, around the late evening hours or early morning, it could be a different day of the week, depending on what time zone you're in. And then people get confused and they're like, oh, wait a second, I thought the full moon was on Wednesday. You're like, oh, well, yeah, if you're, in European time, yes, or if you're in Australia. But here, it's happening on Tuesday. So we kick off the month with a full moon. So I can see right away, okay, full moon in Aquarius. Now today's July, so I'm going to just go back to July. Up here, you can see each month for 2023, because you can go back in time or forward in time. It's really cool, this little tool. So I'm going to just go back because I'm just showing you for the day. So I'm going to scroll down July 31st. So I know, okay, it's in Capricorn. I can even see the little phase of the moon here. So we've got waxing gibbous. We're getting ready for that full moon. The reason I like to do this, even though you're like, oh, why would I want to write this down in the planner? I can just look at it on here. Something happens when you actually take the time to write. It's a shift in the mind, in the learning, in the understanding, than just seeing it. You incorporate and embed the understanding of the teaching so much more. So I know, okay, moon's in Capricorn right now, but something I am going to take note of, and it's a little tiny to see here, and it's in military time, I guess you could say, 23:58. So that means right around midnight tonight, it's going to shift into Aquarius. Now I'm going to be sleeping, so it's not that big of a deal. But for example, on Tuesday, when the moon went from Libra to Scorpio right around lunchtime, close to 1 p.m. Eastern, things could really shift. I might notice that shift in the energy. I might go from feeling very outgoing and friendly and charming and diplomatic, and I want to be with people, to I want to be home. I don't want to be around anybody. I need my space, into more Scorpio protective energy. And if I had a presentation to give, let's say, I'd want to set that presentation or a coffee chat in the morning before 1 o'clock. Because after 1 o'clock on Tuesday, I know from my patterns keeping track with Scorpio that I would be, and this is a generalization, a lot of people will feel this. You'll take note of how you feel specifically, then you'll have your personal data. But most people feel withdrawn with Scorpio. They tend to be a little bit, you could say, secretive. They don't want to share as easily. So if you're trying to have a conversation with someone, they might feel like, oh, well, you weren't very friendly. You weren't very open and chatty. You felt so guarded. I don't know if I want to be your friend. And it's just that the moon went into Scorpio. This is a generalization, but it shows up in these little ways, kind of like a pebble in the shoe. Not a big deal in the beginning, but the longer the pebble's there, the more you notice it. And these little subtle things can make a big difference. It's like going to a job interview. And in the old days, they'd always say, oh, make sure your nails look good and your shoes are polished, yada, yada, because those little things matter. Or, that your resume doesn't have any typos. Those things matter. Okay. So I know moon's in Capricorn. It's really not going to change until midnight. So I'm not going to worry about it changing. Sometimes I would basically say, like, okay, well, it's going to go into Aquarius. The other thing I like to do, and I learned this early on in my yoga days, is I draw the symbols. Now, Capricorn's a little bit of a tricky one to draw, and I just draw it next to the word. That way I can get used to customizing myself to reading the symbols. This is going to help build your intuitive language because our angels speak in symbols. So it just helps. I take note of my mood. I am definitely like, let's get to business. My mood is oriented on like, let's get right to work. Capricorn is definitely work energy. It's the CEO, the visionary, the strategist. Now, something to take note of in the early days when you're doing this, I love to go back, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a second so you can see the journal. I love to go back and I say, okay, well, what's important that I know about a waxing gibbous moon? Because this is where you're going to be able to interpret, like when you start your day. Oh, well, moon's in Capricorn. Okay, well, what is the moon in Capricorn? Okay, well, I'm going to just look here. And if I look down here, oh, tangible goals, hard work, ambition, drive, integrity, big picture vision, and serious. So I know that this energy, I could harness this specific energy. And for me, this is an awesome thing because Capricorn is my opposite moon sign. My moon is naturally in Cancer. So usually I want to feel into everything. I got to make sure it feels okay before I do it. The mood has to be right. And that's just annoying sometimes because sometimes you just have to get it done. It doesn't have to be perfect, just get it done. I can harness this Capricorn energy today and say, you know what? Today, I'm setting all my business goals because the moon's going into Aquarius tomorrow. So I'm going to harness this energy. Well, specifically with Capricorn, okay, well, what does it mean with the waxing moon? Well, I'm adjusting my actions. I'm taking note of the fact, and hopefully you can see this. Yep. Make an offer, dig deep, keep building on your passion. I'm in the home stretch. Give it all you got. That's good to know too, because I am a little on the tired side and questioning like, do you keep pushing? Do you keep going? Or do you switch tracks? Well, I don't need to switch tracks altogether, like throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I just adjust my actions as necessary. I'm going to tweak them. How do I know what to tweak? Well, ideally, I'd go back to the new moon, wherever the record is for my new moon, and I'd say, well, what was my intention on the new moon? What was my dream that I planted? Am I on track for that? Because the full moon's tomorrow. And what we're doing is we're building to the full moon. We plant the idea on the new moon saying, oh, I want to launch this program or this project, or I want to plan a vacation, or I just need to organize my home, whatever the intention was. And then it's building, building, building. And we're getting ready. We're checking in. We're saying, am I still on track? What needs to be tweaked? So I go back to the day. You guys are getting a big kind of background insight. As you get these patterns down, you don't need to spend this much time, but I want to show you what I do. So Capricorn, business, tangible goals. I can be serious. I can set the big vision. The moon is waxing. That means waxing gibbous. It's getting bigger, going to be full tomorrow. So I know, okay, this is a time of not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, not to tear everything down, but to adjust. It's a tweaking time. We're fine. Am I in track with my new moon goals? Then I just pull a card. And it could be an oracle deck. It could be a tarot deck. It could be whatever you want. You could just you don't have to do a card. You could just tune in and say, what's the most important thing I need to know today? And you take note of what pops into your head. But I'm just asking, what's the most important thing I need to know today? So I get the Fool card. So what I do, I've got this nice little setup with this little, it's fun. It's like a little moon. You've got your half moon in your circle, full moon here in the middle. I have my citrine in the middle. I love that she's holding the amethyst. And I take a moment to look at this. And I look at the symbolism and I know, okay, that's the seed of life. This is the remembrance that there is a bigger blueprint working at hand, like the acorn has the whole tree's blueprint in it. She's getting ready to take a leap of faith. She's trusting that she's connected to spirit. She's got that amethyst and she's going for it. She's not sweating the small stuff. So for me, what I need to know about today is that Fool energy. So I'm just taking note of the card. And for me, it might be, jump at an opportunity and don't overthink it. Now that's very interesting because what I do know is the moon's in Capricorn, and Capricorn is going to want to really be like, okay, well, give me the details of this. What's the return on my investment? Whereas my Cancer moon would just be like, oh, this feels great. Let's just do it. Cancer moon is more of like an impulsive buyer, where Capricorn would be like, okay, well, what's the return on the investment? Let's talk business. So for me, the cool thing is where I might have been a bit impulsive and just leapt into something, I'll have that Capricorn pragmatic down to earth sensibility behind me as I look at these opportunities. So jump for an opportunity. I'm going to say, don't overthink it. So I'm just writing down my insights. You can go really quickly. The reason that I made the insight section like this is that this really is a journal and a planner. And I'm not a great journaler. Confession time. I don't spend hours, I try, dear diary. And I have I'll spend 2 hours and then it'll be 2 years before I go back to it. Something I learned from Austin Kleon, he's an author and artist, and he wrote a book called Steal Like an Artist. And I'm not always a words person. I like to draw images. And so stick figures, I'm not a great artist. But he'd say at the end of the day, just capture your day. If it's not in words, draw stick figures, doodle. Just draw, say a couple words. So this is really meant to be a snapshot. You can go into detail and journal if you want. And in the back, there's bigger journaling pages. But this is meant to kind of capture, what am I feeling at the beginning of the day? Maybe you come back and at the end of the day, you're like, wow, I got this call out of the blue from an old friend. And, they said, hey, I have this new opportunity coming up. Do you want to partner and go into this? And we set up a coffee chat. And you know what? That goes along with my intention, connecting with community, coffee or tea, maybe not on the front porch, but with a friend. Citrine, bringing in that abundance, honoring the blessings in my life. So this is just meant to give you some insights. So if I were to flip back to kind of you can see here, July, I kind of lost track during the week. Things got busy last week, but intuitive psychic day, nurture my heart, be compassionate. I wanted to work on moon post, angels, and crystals. Okay, so that was that for that week. So you can see, you can go really, really deep. Some of mine are really, really tons of writing and some aren't that much. Okay, so that is that. Are there any questions on what any of this is intended for, what I might have meant with it? Because I truly believe that, once art is out there, it's for you to be enjoyed and for you to make it your own. I might have had an intention in the beginning, but it might be interpreted differently and used differently, and that's wonderful. And let's see, Leanne. Oh, thank you. You said, I make it seem so easy. Now you just have to do it. Yeah, Well, and let me ask you gals, would it be helpful to have kind of like maybe monthly planning sessions like this? Like just say, hey, we'll get together, and you guys can always hit reply and let me know too, like in one of the emails. Or if every now and then we want like a check-in on big days, like Lionsgate is coming up, the autumnal equinox is in September. We have different holidays around the year. But and Leanne said, yes, especially in the beginning of receiving. Yeah, it is a bit overwhelming to start. There's a lot of potential and power packed into this tool, and it can be very simple to use it. Because you can use it however, how do I want to say, I don't want to use the word simplistically, but however kind of overarching big picture as you want, or to go very deep. And Linda, you said monthly would be very helpful. Okay, cool. So I'll kind of put some ideas into process, and that way we can stay together, because oh, holy cannoli, when you start realizing how these energies affect you, everything changes and shifts. Like, oh my gosh, a couple of weeks ago when the moon was in Cancer, I had a laundry list of things to do. The list was so long. And I just felt so overwhelmed. I wanted to sit on the couch. It was a Sunday. I wanted something sweet because I was feeling worried and anxious and less than. So I sat down with my chocolate. I read a really good book. And I said, you know what? The moon is in Cancer and I'll be okay. The moon's going to shift energy. And sure enough, a couple hours later, things shifted. I got off the couch. I got the work done. And I didn't have to beat myself up. I gave myself that grace to say, it's okay to just do your moon in Cancer right now. This is what your spirit needs. Is it always like that? No. Okay. All righty. Yay. Okay.